I want to thank the MTA for this award. It's really meaningful. It's meaningful because it comes from educators. And the work that Jennifer and I have done that we're being recognized for is really in service to educators in many ways, and not just here in the Commonwealth, but across the United States. Educators are the front line in public education, and they're the most trusted people still, even 2 decades into an assault on the teaching profession. They are our best ambassadors in making the case for public education in this country. When we started working on our podcast and on our book, I don't think we really had a sense of how dire the threat is across the nation to public education today. We're a bit insulated from it here in Massachusetts, although we face our own challenges with regard to the persistent dominance of high-stakes testing and with regard to increasing marketization of public education. Right? The vision of public education that motivates me in my work is the idea that we are building a democratic society together, an inclusive one that eventually will help promote racial and economic justice. That's not something that the market is going to provide. The market is not going to answer the needs that we have as a democratic republic and as one that continues to face deep inequalities across lines of race, class, gender identity, and other forms of identity. My hope is that through continued advocacy by us, by the MTA, and by others, that we will make the case for public education that advances public values, that advances public goods. When we think of education as a private good, as something that's only good for my kid to get ahead, we undermine the broader value that schools have in terms of making a better society for all of us. When we think of education as a public good, we can then envision a society in which all of our schools are good, and we all benefit from that. And so the policy priorities that we ought to be elevating right now, and the priorities that I know the MTA is working to elevate as well, are around full integration of our schools, full funding of our schools, and advancing the full mission of education and not just what can be measured by a standardized test. I also want to thank Jennifer. She's the creator of our podcast, and she's the best co-author that anybody could ask for, but don't tell her that. And then finally, I want to thank my wife and my daughter. My wife is a teacher, my daughter is a student, and thinking about them is really what motivates my work, especially when I think about the fact that my daughter attends a public school right across the street, and its successes and its failures are what both give me hope and motivate me to do the work that I do. Thanks again.